Hi everyone, Exit Strategy here, the internet's busiest music nerd, and it's time for a review of the new ZelooperZ album, Van Gogh's Left Ear. This is a brand new LP from one of the most colorful Detroit rappers out there, ZelooperZ. It's been a while since I have talked about the guy's music at length, but he has been busy. Some of you might remember his 2014 mixtape Help, where his hyper-aggressive and elastic flows made him one of the oddest rappers to gain traction that year. Thinking about it kind of makes sense that he's affiliated with Danny Brown's BRUISER Brigade. New music from this point has been a little touch and go, but ZelooperZ has been on this incredible prolific streak since 2019, dropping a series of short and distinct projects that were a little messy and underdeveloped, but admirably out of control. And ZelooperZ really seems to be focusing a lot of energy and going all out for his latest here, Van Gogh's Left Ear. This thing's a 19-track experience where we get a triple rainbow's worth of rap absurdisms. And like many of ZelooperZ's recent mini-albums, the material here hits quick. It sort of fastballs an insane idea at you, and before you even have time to think about how you might swing at it, another is on the way. And while some tracks here do feel a bit rushed, a lot of these 1 to 2 minute pieces feel like they're just enough. Because Van Gogh's Left Ear is a lot to take in between ZelooperZ's multiple personality flows, his outlandish bars, the varied production. The opening track, Battery, is a battle cry for this album. It is banging trap beats set to what sounds like chops from an old karate film soundtrack, and ZelooperZ is spitting over this beat relentlessly and manically with bars that are just too hard to disagree with. War in my pen when I right my wrongs. Going so hard I want to fight my songs. Then following bars like rip it, let's wreck it, let's rack it. Then got a bitch riveted, she gonna come over here and rip it off rapidly reads like an unhinged nursery rhyme or tongue twister. But this line's also reflective of a weirdly playful attitude that is plugged into much of what ZelooperZ does. Then the title track is a surprisingly smooth change of pace for a song on the front end of this LP. Very glossy synth leads, club-friendly groove. Meanwhile, the rapping shows just how focused, measured, and conventionally catchy ZelooperZ can be when he wants it. On this track, he kind of sounds like Meek Mill 8 episodes deep into a strange anime series while popping some Adderall, and I mean that comparison in the best way possible. The success of Paranormal Snaptivity is mostly based in ZelooperZ finding two dudes who can go as manic on a track as he does. Then Ticking Time Bomb is one of this record's many oddball moments. It sounds like ZelooperZ is rapping over the incidental music to a high-tension moment during a scene in the series 24. He homes in on the title of the track even more with the occasional bar where he's mimicking the ticking sound of a clock. And while there are some witty bars that pop out on this one here and there, like you look real good like Counterfeit, but I can't honor it, I think a lot of this track's appeal boils down to ZelooperZ's flows here being rap's equivalent to having a stroke. The track, Each and Every Moment, is nothing but hard one-liners over a triumphant trap beat, laced with grand but dusty strings and horns. ZelooperZ's performance here is relentless, and for whatever reason, his voice sounds just louder and more saturated than it does on any other song, which I think is fitting because some of the bars here sound like fucking glitches in the Matrix. What's this one? I made a woman catch my flight, I peeled the skin on my back and made a kite? But then there's also these poetically profound detours like grinding till the sun up, I'm the lightning that you see, I'm the night, I'm the thunder. Then Mechanic might be one of my favorites here just by virtue of it sounding like an experimental jazz trap Tom Waits with vocals that sound like they're recorded from a tube. Detuned guitars and horns, weird samples, the whole thing sounds like I'm trapped in a rusty old machine. Then there's the amazing Bash Bandicoon, which sees Danny Brown and ZelooperZ digging lyrical gold out of a beat that, yes, samples music from the Crash Bandicoot soundtrack. These guys essentially showcasing they have the power to rap over anything, and Danny is especially smooth with it on this one. Plus the ZelooperZ line, if I clap it's gonna sound like ram's horns, she sucked my sack and I bust on her dashboard. Yeah, that's gonna be a sticking with me for a bit. There are some pretty unremarkable cuts around the midpoint of the record though. The production on Other Side of the Mirror is pretty tedious, and ZelooperZ energy trails off so quickly on Hostile, I'm surprised the track made it onto the record. Crying in the Club, for the most part, seems like it's attempting to be this sad moment, but substantively doesn't bring up a lot to be sad about. Sure, the track is interesting as another unexpected mood switch in the track list, but replaying it only exposes how half-baked it is. But the weirdly romantic Dedicated My Life does bring up some beautifully poetic bars, with ZelooperZ occasionally dipping into, with no warning, his lower register in a way that sounds really goofy and mutant. The feeling's mutual. The final leg of this LP continues this mellow streak into some trendier sounds with mixed results. The track Don't Leave features some wavy chipmunk trap, sounds like something Coi Leray would be on top of. Half the song spends its time at this chipmunk pitch that I mentioned, and then all of a sudden it drops down to a normal register and continues on from there, and I don't know, I thought it kind of sounded more interesting at the start. Always Wanted You has kind of a dreamy alternative R&B flair to it that's okay. I think the featured artist Jade Fox sounds more fitting on this beat than ZelooperZ does. And BLUEZ, honest to God, sounds like a leftover from the last Polo G record, and oddly enough, it kind of works. The song Satellites does leave things off on a kind of positive, aspirational moment, but it's hard to read into this track and feel like it's any more significant a statement than almost anything else here, because while Van Gogh's Left Ear does bring a lot of personality, a lot of character, and a lot of color, there isn't a ton in terms of deeper details and follow-through on a lot of these tracks, unfortunately. Not to mention that ZelooperZ's constant risk-taking on this project often lands him in places that are kind of an awkward fit. Feeling a light to decent 6 on this one, Tran. Zishin, have you given this album a listen? Did you love it? Did you hate it? What would you rate it? You're the best, you're the best. What should I review next? Hit the like if you like, please subscribe, and please don't cry. Hit the bell as well. Over here next to my head, it's another video you can check out. Hit that upworthy link to subscribe to the channel. Anthony Fantano, ZelooperZ, forever.